Hi, all. I'm Catherine Rose, founder and CEO of ChannelWise. ChannelWise is a platform that provides channel partners access to vetted, been there, done that experts for one on one video consultations to help them go farther, faster in their business. Tatiana Chamorro is the CEO of Height Digital Dallas, an industry leading agency in brand design and marketing services. Tatiana is also the founder of Creative, a division of Height International, a team of over 200 members serving 25 locations across the US. She's passionate about helping people, businesses, and brands overcome growth barriers with strategic solutions so they can reach their desired success. Welcome to you, Tatiana. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into starting this company. And I know you have a lot of things going on, so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Catherine. I am excited to be here and share more about my journey. I am a designer at heart, so I started actually my undergrad in graphic design, and that's how I ended up creating the creative division. But I'm also a mom. I'm originally from Nicaragua. I'm a wife, and I love painting. So I think that there's this misconcept of entrepreneurs and CEOs only talking about how they grew their business. So yeah, I think a big part of what makes me who I am is who I am when I'm not working. And like I said, I'm originally from Nicaragua. I live now in Dallas. I've been here for 8 years, so I kind of feel like I'm a little bit from everywhere, and I love it.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, and I know it's challenging, right? To get a business started and, with the family and everything. But you're right. We bring our whole selves into all of everything that we do, right? And I know one of the things that we're here really to dive deep into today is this idea of digital marketing. And I know, especially in the channel, it is a big challenge for a lot of channel partners, even the vendors and suppliers, but particularly for the partners understaffed, under resourced. So I'm sure a lot of them have kind of dipped their toe in the water. Maybe some of them have actually, done a lot with it. But when you're looking at formulating a digital marketing strategy, what is your advice to those who are either getting started or they're looking to kind of change it up a little?
Yeah, I think the first thing to consider is identify and understand what stage of the business you're in, right? So everyone believes that investing in marketing is going to get you to accelerate the growth. And that is true, but if you're in an early start, you are not in a position where getting 200 leads may be a valuable or even a smart move, right? So understanding where you're at in the moment that you're deciding to invest will determine what service to invest in or even if you should invest in a service. So I would say that first of all, consider, for example, cost. Have a budget in mind. Have a budget that makes sense to you financially because that is going to dictate what type of service you should invest in. And depending on, and any marketing agency or any marketing expert should be asking you what is your budget because that can determine what platform to advertise on and if you're going to see a return on investment. So start there and then identify if you have systems and processes in place for your business. And when I say that, I mean when you do digital marketing, you're going to be getting leads. And from those leads, on average, if it's really good, probably you're going to see a conversion rate of maybe 30%, around 30, between 30 and 50, which means that if you get 200 people to contact you and you don't have a system to nurture them in place, you're going to have to be answering to 200 people and then only selling to about a little less than half of that, right?
Yeah.
And that's gonna burn you because that is not the only role you have as an owner. And so I would say consider where you're at in this stage of your business and determine what resources you have internally.
I think one of the challenges always though is that budget, especially if you're in the early stages. I know even for us as we start embarking on a paid strategy or even SEO organic, and we'll dive into that in a little bit, but sometimes you just don't know what it costs. Like, so let's say someone in an early stage just wants to like really set up a good brand awareness campaign and they want to invest. We'll use paid media. We'll use paid pay per click. What kind of, I know it varies wildly, but is there any kind of a, ballpark or whatever you could give to the folks out there to understand that in order to make a decent splash, you need to set aside at least X number of dollars?
Yeah. I would say in digital marketing, it's going to be around $1,500 a month to start with. And then I would also urge anyone doing a brand awareness campaign to understand that when you're doing a brand awareness, you're not actually doing a lead generation campaign, which means that it's only to get your brand recognized, right? Which means people are going to be looking at then going to your website or following you on social media or liking your Facebook page. And that's going to be important because that means that those $1,500 a month that you're spending aren't actually going to translate immediately into sales and a return on investment. So that's when I tell people, because by the way too, it's going to be very important that your website is set up the right way. What does that mean? That means that if you're doing brand awareness campaigns and you're bringing people to your website to know more about your product, but your website is not informational, it's not user friendly, it doesn't adapt to the phone, you're really just throwing away your money. And that's going to be crucial. So before you even getting started about considering a budget, make sure your website is set up in a way that will convert those customers, that you are findable, like that they when they go into your website they can find all the information they're looking for, because sometimes I'll go in and I can't find phone numbers, emails, it's really complicated. um, and that you have all of those different, like I like to call it the foundation in place in order to get your campaigns running, whether that is a lead generation or a brand awareness.
I think that's such an important point because so many channel partners, and yes, I'm talking to you all out there, they have a website that it's almost like just a checkbox. Like, oh, we have our website, but what they don't do is take the time to do exactly what you said. It's a, how strong is your about us? Is there a way to contact you? What kind of products and services you offer? So even if you're running a lead gen campaign, it's still important to have all of that information available at at your prospects' fingertips, so they know as much as they can about you before they decide to do business with you.
Absolutely. Think about it this way. If you are have you ever had a conversation with someone where you can tell that they're zoning out? Like you're in the middle of a conversation and then suddenly they're looking away and they are lost. You can tell they're not listening. That is exactly what's going to happen if somebody goes into your website and your website doesn't have the information they're needing. They're going to bounce out or they're going to navigate for 2 seconds. So your website is the foundation of any digital marketing because that is where you're going to take people to, and you want to make sure they don't zone out the second they go in.
And how do you determine at what stage of the business you should invest in like pulling different levers? So, because obviously SEO, organic, search engine optimization strategies, that might be one lever to pull. Digital marketing in terms of investing in a social selling campaign or a paid campaign. What how do you determine what stage you sort of need to be in to pull all those different levers? And then how do you decide which one to start working with?
So, one of the things that I look at is revenue. How much is your business generating an average annually? So, if you're under 350K, I would recommend that you do more of a brand awareness. Make sure you have a good logo and a good website, and then do more organically. Go to events, present yourself, give your business cards. Make sure, though, because even in that stage, and for startups as well, I would recommend to have that website very well built. Make sure that it's on WordPress. WordPress is going to allow you to rank faster on Google, and it has much more adaptability than all the other builders. And then I would say have a strong logo that is gonna, resonate with the community, communicate what you're trying to communicate, and um, give you that aspect that you want to transmit to people when you meet to them, right? And then if you're over 350K annually, I would say look at the different platforms. The way that that's determined is depending on where you want to advertise, the cost to advertise will fluctuate. And that works because there's a thing called cost per click, right? And each platform where you're doing paid advertisement will tell you, hey, it'll cost you in your industry, and your location, it'll cost you X to advertise. And so if you're meeting with a reliable marketing agency, they will tell you, we recommend X, Y, and Z to advertise. Now, a lot of marketing agencies will tell you, nah, just start with $200 a month. I can tell you right now that's probably not going to get you anywhere, because the way that the platforms online work is that depending on the cost per click, you are then competing to show up based on what everyone else is also paying to advertise. And so that cost per click is not determined by the marketing agency, but by the platform in which you're advertising.
Okay. Well, a lot of obviously the channel here. is really focus on the B2B. So
Mhm.
what platforms would you recommend that they look at first?
So, assuming that they are at over 350K in revenue, I would say definitely SEO and Google Ads is going to be the strongest ones. Google is always going to be a better choice because people are actually searching with an intent, and so when they go on Google, they're actually looking for a service. So if you're popping up, that's going to give you higher conversion rates, right? SEO is going to take you on average, and this is just an industry average, about 6 months to give you results. So it'll depend on how fast you're needing results. If you're wanting to show a return on investment faster, then I would go with Google.
What about LinkedIn? I know there's a lot of people ask me all the time, about LinkedIn ads. I think we've talked about this before. So I started in the, social media marketing probably 15 years ago. And when LinkedIn first came out, I mean, the ads were really expensive and I didn't see a whole lot of return for my clients. So I'm just curious now, how is that?
We don't specialize in LinkedIn ads, but it depends on the nature of the business where I will or will not recommend LinkedIn ads for certain types of businesses. We have seen, because we have clients that have done LinkedIn ads. And what I can tell you is that even B2B, the results we have seen through specifically a service like SEO is going to be much better than LinkedIn. LinkedIn will help, and it'll give you results, but I would say it's much more similar to like Google Ads.
Okay, gotcha. And what common mistakes do you see? Because I'm sure in an agency world, you sometimes you have to clean up the mess. You know what I mean from other agencies that they've worked for, or just in general in working all the of the years that you have. What are some common pitfalls that you see, and how can people avoid those?
Yeah, the first thing that I definitely the website is one. You'd be surprised. I see that almost every time we do a campaign. And I mean that because when you're doing an ad, you want to make sure to have a landing page that's specifically to the ad you're running. If you're doing an ad on robotic mowers, for example, you want to have a landing page that is specifically informing the user on that service you're selling, right? A lot of people will do ads and they'll take people to the website, and that will give you a lower conversion. The second biggest mistake is having no thank you page. When you're running ads, you're going to want to have a thank you page enabled so you can actually track. That will tell you how many people actually converted, right? And then the lack of tracking. Make sure that you are actually looking at the sales and not so much the impressions or the clicks. Marketing agencies will usually report on the clicks, but make sure that you are also accounting for the conversions into sales. A good marketing agency will be at least asking you about those sales, but if they're not, make sure that you are tracking it.
I think that's a really important thing too, is that, the idea of making sure every dollar returns you something. So if you're not measuring, you won't know. What are some of the key metrics? I know you're saying like the conversions into sales, but I guess it would depend on the goal. So if it's brand awareness, would they be looking at impressions and clicks or
Yeah, I would say that impressions and clicks is valid. Increase in search, right? So if the search volume on your website is increasing, that's also a good metric. Followers or likes is also a good metric for a brand awareness campaign. I would also say to be very mindful of where you're at right now, right? If you as a business are starting on a brand awareness campaign and you want to increase to 50,000 followers, but you currently only have 20, that's going to be something we need to take into consideration on how long it's going to take us to get there. And a lot of times as business owners, we tend to think, oh, well, it's marketing. We're just going to turn it on and it'll start giving us results, right? But it really depends on we're going to turn it on, but where are you today so that we can know how long it's going to take us to get there. So yeah, I would say followers, clicks, impressions, and increase in search engine in the search engine, like how many people are viewing your website.
do you recommend though? I mean, I know a lot of folks out there that are listening. They are, a lot of these the MSPs and solution provider organizations were either set up by salespeople or typically for engineers. And as a salesperson myself, I'm like, I just want sales. Is it important to start with a brand awareness campaign, or can you just jump right into conversions, conversions, conversions?
That's a tough one because you're asking a branding nerd. I would say branding should always be the foundation of a business because, but of course, the sales matter too. So it depends where you're at, right? If you are a business that's more recognizable, has been in the industry for many years, then making sure the foundation and branding is there is crucial. If you are a startup, for example, that you're wanting to raise capital, having the foundation and branding is going to be crucial. But if you are a business that has been in, let's say it has been in business for 15 years, and right now with after COVID, it went down, sales is going to be more important, right? If you are struggling with paying your employees, if you're cutting down on cost, sales is going to have to be a priority. However, they don't work separately. They should always work together. In fact, when we're running brand awareness campaigns and we're running lead generation campaigns at the same time for a client, we get better results in the lead generation.
Oh, so you run it in tandem. That's really interesting because I know oftentimes it's, people sort of have to choose, but it makes a lot of sense if there's a way to run them in tandem so you can, like you said, increase that organic awareness of the business and the services, but then also track those conversions as well. So that's a really, I think that's a really good point as well. What are some trends that you're seeing in digital marketing that the folks out there can start, paying attention to and taking advantage of?
Digital marketing is always changing. I think that, and when I talk to students, they're like, "What should I do in order to start in digital marketing?" I'm like, "Whatever you do today, 6 months from now is going to be different, right?"
Yeah.
So I would say look at platforms like ChatGPT to identify how you can leverage that into the process that you've already created. A lot of people are worried about utilizing ChatGPT. I believe we can utilize it to accelerate the results that we can gather for clients, whether that is, you create a caption or you create a description for your ad and then you run it through chat gpt and it'll, update it or change it or shift it. So instead of running away from tools like that, how we can then utilize it to increase the results that we're getting for our clients. So if you haven't heard of ChatGPT, I would encourage anyone listening to this to go and check it out and definitely use it to your advantage. Don't run away from it.
Right. I think that's important too that to talk about. We do have a few experts, obviously, on the platform that do a lot of work with AI and ChatGPT. But I find it interesting too because one of the questions we'll get from members and from others is, well, if our agency is using Chat GPT, maybe we should pay them less. And I always say that it has nothing to do with them, with the writing itself is one thing, but it's the execution and it's the follow up and it's all the strategy that goes behind it, that that's the most important piece. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that if you're working with an agency that is only creating the ads, you should absolutely pay them less and maybe find another agency. What you're paying a marketing agency to do is to look at the results and optimize based on the results you're gathering.
Yeah.
And that means, okay, let's say we're running 3 campaigns at the same time and one of them is performing low. All of them are using up your monthly budget. So a marketing agency should be looking at that, analyzing and saying campaign C is not giving us the results we need. So either we change the targeting, we change the, the age that the demographic, anything like that to see if it gets results. A week later, we're going to review. A week later, you review and you see that it's not getting the results and it's just not giving you the results you're looking for. So the marketing agency should be making those optimizations and changes to campaigns in order to get it to perform better. ChatGPT is just a tool to get those campaigns to perform better faster or get more creative with the content, but that's not really replacing what the agency should be doing.
Fantastic. Now, one last question because we're coming close to the end, but when folks are looking to work with a marketing agency, even when I was a consultant myself and I was looking at marketing agencies, it seemed like the prices just, varied so wildly between agency to agency. How would you recommend that if somebody was looking to hire an agency, because a lot of the folks out there are smaller businesses. I mean, they do a lot of business, but they don't have a huge staff. So a lot of them may be looking to outsource to an agency. What are some of the things that they should be looking for in order to when they're interviewing the different agencies that are out there?
I would definitely, the number of employees that the agency has is going to matter because that will depend on how good they can execute on different strategies. If the same person is running your Facebook ads and your Google ads, that's probably going to be a problem because the platforms work differently. They're probably not going to have time to be updating on the changes. We, for example, had created an L&D department because we saw a gap on how fast marketing was changing and the need to be just giving our employees all these different trainings, right? The other thing is if your marketing agency is not asking questions like what's your budget, what's the cost of your service, this one's going to be huge, Catherine, because a lot of agencies will not ask you, hey, how much is the service you're selling? The service you're wanting to advertise, how much are you selling it for? And what is your profit margin? And so, for example, I ask those questions to determine because a lot of my clients don't know how much they should budget for marketing. So what I do is I ask those questions to determine if they're going to see a return on investment when they're investing in digital marketing. So make sure that your marketing agency that you're meeting with is asking those questions and actually caring about your return on investment to before they even start doing ads, right? And then just make sure that they're also having processes in place. Not only you have to have those processes, your agency does too, which means do they have like an onboarding call? Do they have optimization emails that they're sending you? And are they focused on asking you, hey, how many sales did you get from the 12 people that we saw contacted you? If they're not asking those questions and making the appropriate changes, then I think it's time to look for a new agency.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Tatiana. It's been super helpful. And I know that a lot of folks out there will have more questions. And of course, if you want to get deeper advice on this topic, head over to Tatiana's profile on ChannelWise. We'll go ahead and put that link into the chat. And if you have other questions on any critical business issues that you have, of course, we have a lot of other experts on ChannelWise to help you or your partners accelerate your business growth. So thanks again, Tatiana, so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone out there, for watching. And until next time.
Thank you.